Well, welcome everybody to yet another segment of Lewis at Large, and of course that means Smart Talk Radio is in your future. Yours truly, Warner Lewis, each and every segment from the flight deck here, and got a really interesting subject today. We're going to be talking a little bit about sexuality as it has to do with teenagers and young adults. We'll also talk about sexuality in publications, specifically in books, with someone that knows both. Patty Marks, she sits at the helm of a publishing company called Ellora's Cave. They consider themselves the world's first and foremost publisher of erotic romance. The company was started originally by her daughter, but we'll let her get into a little bit more detail. Patty, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine. And yourself?
We're good here, and again, we're both in the communications business here, and so I expect this to be very enlightening indeed. Let's do a little bit better setup. Again, as I touched at the top of the show, your daughter actually is the original author here,
Yes.
but her story is interesting. How it arrived that both of you were in the publishing business yourselves.
My daughter started writing under the pen name J. Black, Jaid Black, and she liked romance novels, but she felt that they closed the bedroom door, and if they didn't, they used euphemisms that no one would ever even use in real life, and thought that they should be more modern, graphic, today's slang. And she wrote some books of her own, and went to get them published with traditional New York publishers, and basically was told, your writing's awesome, you have great humor, you write a good romance story, but women aren't going to read this graphic sex. And she disagreed, so she started her own internet publishing company to publish her own books, and then also solicited other authors, and proved them wrong. We've done really well. This was 13 years ago. We sell between 200 to 250,000 ebooks a month now, and we have over 800 authors and over 5,000 titles. Then it's all mostly erotic romance, some erotica. The difference is erotic romance has the romance.
Right.
Erotica is the sexual adventure. And a little bit of mainstream sexy romance, but not erotic.
Patty, interesting to hear you talk in the role as a business person, but also as a mother. And you could say, well, your daughter's done quite well as an author, or, well, your daughter writes borderline pornography. And I wanted to explore that with you for just a minute. And by the way, we're not here to judge it one way or the other, but I'm curious if from your definition, is the erotic novel, where does it sort of end, and where does sort of someone would say pornography or hardcore pornography begin?
Well, I would say that's all in what people want to determine it to be, okay? Erotic romance has a story. It all has a plot. It has a relationship. It has love, but it also has very, very, very strong sexual content. I'm sure there are people who are going to call it porn, if that's what they want to call it. Everybody has the right to their own, and we're not out to push it off on anybody who doesn't want to read it. But it's plot, it's stories, it's romance, it's happily ever after, or happy for now, which is a requirement in romance publishing. There are certain things that are required in order for it to be called a romance. It's popular. Mostly women read it, but men read it too. And it's been we've been very successful with it. It may not be for everyone. Particularly in my books, I read thrillers and horror stories. So, but it has nothing to do with the erotic part of the content of the. We consider it to be a celebration of sexuality. There's nothing wrong with sex. That's how we all got here.
Right.
And it's something that can be enjoyed, a great emotional relationship and a sexual relationship.
Patty, curious as to your, the stereotype would be, well, probably the people that are buying this material, they're very loyal, and kind of like the same people that some would say watch Lifetime television are sort of fall in this gargantuan basket of bored housewife, but I would assume you've got demographic figures to show that that's probably not the only people that read it.
Yeah, we sell anywhere from 18. We have 80-year-olds. We have couples. We have a lot of couples that write in, or husbands or significant others that buy for their significant other because it's very aphrodisiac. Like, it's the books are a turn on for some, we've had people say that they've helped save their marriages because it they do celebrate sexuality, and we particularly feel that there's nothing wrong with that. We don't pander to children. I can't say that none buy, but buying on the internet, you need a credit card. So you're supposed to be 18, but that doesn't mean that necessarily they are, but that's, we have all the disclaimers and all that. So.
Right. Patty, also, here's another stereotype, that the vast, vast majority of the authors are women. Is that necessarily true? That
is pretty much true. The vast majority of the authors of erotic romance, of romance in general, are women. And the biggest customer are women. But it's like, I don't know, the old sex toy stores that, used to be the dirty bookstore with a nasty...
Yep.
But now they're stores for lovers. So they're for couples, too. They're for enhancing relationships. Now a lot of the stores they've cleaned up and they're for men and women and couples to go together. And women don't feel uncomfortable going into them. So it's the same thing with erotic literature.
From your experience, Patty, and again, if you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis, with the Flight Deck, again, of Lewis at Large Radio, in the middle of some Smart Talk Radio with Patty Marks. She is the CEO, I believe, an executive editor, maybe president CEO of Ellora's Cave, again, the world's first and foremost publisher of erotic romance. Patty, in your experience, have you noticed, if I were to not tell you and give you 5 books to read, could you tell me which ones were written by men versus women?
No. A lot of the men use it used to be, in other literature it was the other way around, where women would use male pseudonyms, or initials. A lot of the men use initials and female pseudonyms. The men are, I think, most of our male authors write more of the BDSM, menage type stuff too. Most of the paranormal stuff is written by the women, but that's stereotyping. I mean, men can write and a lot of our male authors have written very sweet romances, and they are heterosexual males. They're not. Yeah. They're not gay men. Of course, we have gay men who write for us too, which is fantastic as well, because we have a GLBT line. So, it's anybody and everybody can write. It's I guess because of the romance aspect of it, it probably leans more towards women. So
you do publish heterosexual and homosexual, so to speak, erotic novels. Is that correct? Yeah, but a lot of the male, and that we do is written by heterosexual women for heterosexual women. Right. What about, I'm curious as to, you must get lots and lots of submissions. How do you know what to do? Is it like any other subject, I would guess?
Listen, we have a publishing department and like 20 editors that take submissions, and we have certain guidelines. Of course, we don't allow bestiality with domestic animals, or even farm animals. The reason I say that is because you might have a shapeshifter like werewolves and things like that. We don't allow any pedophilia. There's a lot of things that we don't allow. Rape is titillation. There's things called forced seduction, which but there are certain guidelines, and we do not require agented transcript or manuscripts. We do work with a lot of agents, but we also accept, we accept submissions without an agent. So we have editors that, review what we call the slush pile. and we discover new authors every day. That's one of the great things about it, is that we started it with unknown authors, and we have one author in particular whose last 5 or 6 books have made New York Times bestseller list with us. So she's making, tons of money. She's really, really doing well, and she has a new Lorian Donor. She has a new species series. It's genetically engineered animal, human DNA heroes and heroines.
Wow.
So yeah, it's great business. It's really done well. There's a lot of now. We've had a lot of people. We've had a lot of people. A lot of other companies have started up. And New York started doing more of the what they consider erotic romance, like 50 Shades of Grey. Everybody's heard of. But yeah, it's been really good, and I think it's because it's real. The sexual experience, and a lot of it's fantasy. Obviously, there's having sex with an alien is not real,
right?
but the fantasies are real,
right?
And it's an escape, just like True Blood and some of the TV series.
What do you when you see pornography? There's the full blown pornography. There is clearly a place, and there's certainly a market, obviously. Yeah. And then there's obviously a market for just the regular novel and fiction or nonfiction, and then you sort of fall maybe somewhere in between. I'm curious as to what other app beyond selling ebooks. What other things can you do? What do you see as the CEO of the company? What are some of your other delivery channels?
We have T-shirts and some goodies that we sell on our website, and our books are in print as well. We're actually translated into about 9 different languages. Some of our books, not all of them. We work with agents in New York that sell our subsidiary rights for foreign language translations. So we work with several international publishers that buy subsidiary rights for our books.
I'm just I jumped on top of you. I apologize for that. I do want to explore again the unique relationship that you have. You're running a company, in essence, overseeing some of the work that your daughter does, and sort of taking the company over for her. And let's talk about the mother-daughter relationship, and in particular, I know you have some thoughts on those relationships being so important, and learning about sexuality and learning about romance and just relating with one another. Share with us some of your thoughts.
Well, I think it's very, very important to be open with your daughters or your sons. In my case, it's my daughter. She's my only child. I've always been pretty. I've been there for her to talk about things if and when she wants to talk about it, and I've never been embarrassed by open, frank discussion. But I have 2 granddaughters now too, and the youngest one's 15, and we talk. They stay with me right now. My daughter's out in California right now, but our relationship has been very. I say it's like one of the most functional, dysfunctional, codependent mother-daughter relationships that I think I know of, because I'm not only her mother, but I run the business aspect of the company. She still handles the creative aspect, and but she's a creative mind, and I'm more of a logical business mind. So it's challenging, but it has its great rewards. The open frankness we are open with my granddaughters as well, to discuss with anything that they want to discuss. And I think that's really important for parents to do that, to be there for, to discuss things with their kids, especially in this day and age when is so much on the internet. Our books are tame compared to some of the things that kids can get into on the internet. Not to mention that there's sexual predators. There's so much out there that kids need to be talked to about for the sexuality part of it, especially where the internet's concerned. posting things. I would be posting things out there, like little girls taking pictures of themselves, and out there on Instagram and
Right.
and Twitter and whatever the things that they're Facebook, and not realizing how many people can actually see what they're putting out there.
As the editor, as the CEO of this uniquely positioned company, what do you believe? I mean, you have a responsibility, obviously, to the employees to make sure the company makes a profit legally. What other sort of maybe unique responsibilities or sense of duty, so to speak, do you have running such a unique company?
Well, like I said, we have not just the employees, but to our authors. Great group, great bunch of people. I mean, authors are such, the talent is just amazing that they can come. I mean, we have over 5,000 stories, over 5,000 titles, and they're all unique. And we work with over 800 authors. So it's not, and our readers, you have obviously any business you're in.
Right.
You have a responsibility to your customers to provide a good product so they're not, they don't feel like they're being ripped off. And we have a very, very loyal fan base. And the individual authors have loyal fans. So, I think one of the things that we feel is really important to us at Ellora's Cave is that, yes, we do, our books are sexy and graphic and everything else, but we try and portray a classy image, that it's sexy, it's not dirty, and we have our own convention, and we have cavemen who dance at it, but we don't do the stripper, touchy-feely, nasty stuff. They're more classy, very sexy, but they're not, but they're, again, not dirty. There's a difference. You can be sexy and not be gross.
All right. Again, if you just joined us, got a good one going here talking to Patty Marks. She is the CEO of Ellora's Cave, the world's first and foremost publisher of erotic romance, combining the conventions of traditional romance novels with a little bit more frequent sex scenes, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Patty, I understand you do not read by design your daughter's work. Is that true?
That is absolutely true.
Tell us about that one.
From the very beginning, I think sometimes she's a little more traditional than I am. I mean, it's funny because she's the one with the great imagination and all that. But as far as boundaries, she's has a little bit more than I do. But no, she asked me not to read them at the beginning because she said she felt like it would kind of like hinder her creativity, knowing her mom was reading the books. And I'm more of a thriller horror story reader anyway.
So okay. Well, no, I would understand. I could see how that could be some awkward moments, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Well, so there's awkward moments when we're sitting around at a table, sometimes in a restaurant, discussing business, and you think, oh my gosh, we need to keep it down a little bit because, when we're talking, about how many ways can you describe the male sex organ, but it's and it's all in the context of business, So it's there's a lot of I guess, especially this has been 13 years now, so things are more second nature. But we don't want to get jaded either, And another thing that you're talking about responsibility to very, very, very against child porn, kiddie porn, and that kind of stuff. We have a group of authors that are right now talking about doing in conjunction with us, doing a charity book event, writing like a series of stories to donate the money to I forget the name of the organization because they just approached me with it, but it's to prevent female sex slavery in I think I overseas somewhere. I don't know if it's the Middle East or Africa, but so our authors are very, very cognizant of of that kind of thing, and not having rapist titillation. I mean, there's certain things that by celebrating the sexuality part that you can write about and keep it from being keep it above board and decent.
I'm kind of curious here as we start to kind of wind down a little bit. I know your stuff is available obviously around the world via the internet, but let's just assume that people are more aware of Ellora's Cave and the works that you publish in the United States. If worldwide knowledge of your products was available, do you think what part of the world or a particular country for that matter do you think you'd have the most sales? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is the desire and the market for erotic novels greater in the Western world versus Eastern, or have you noticed any patterns yet?
Right now, well, for one thing, there's a lot more censorship in the Middle East and things like that.
Right.
Okay, but we are some of our titles have been transferred into Japanese, but we have a big following in all the English-speaking countries, Australia. We're big in Australia and over in the UK and the other English-speaking countries. I think, but we're translated into French, German. There's one that I can't. It's in the Philippines somewhere. I can't remember the name of the language.
Okay.
But into Japanese and some like Spanish. So. But even in the English-speaking countries, we're huge in Canada, the whole Western Hemisphere, English-speaking countries in Western Europe and all that. All those areas, we do a great business, a great international business, and because we're online, we also sell through Amazon, and we're on the Kindle and Nook for Barnes and Noble and
right.
Kobo Reader and all the ebook readers and. We do very well through all of those outlets, and Amazon UK, Amazon Germany. Any traditional publishers are, all the different outlets that traditional publishers sell through. We're available.
Well, it is an interesting story indeed. The company is Ellora's Cave, the world's first and foremost publisher of erotic romance. We have been speaking to the diaphanous, cacophonous Patty Marks. She's the CEO and president, oversees it. Her daughter, Tina Engler, is one of their authors. Hey, Patty, how can our Lewis at Large listeners find out more about the company? And if they want to order some of the books you all offer, where can they go?
Well, they can go to Ellora'sCave.com, but really easy to remember is HotSexyBooks.com. HotSexyBooks.com
it is.
HotSexyBooks.com.
By spoken to you truly from the CEO and president's mouth. Hey, Patty, thank you for your time and would like to have you guys on again. I think this is a really interesting exercise in free speech and an interesting exercise in the free marketplace. And
thank you.
Thanks again for letting us spend part of our day with you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.